Ghost Adventures, a show that brought a lot of the audience to my channel, and a show that I really, truly do enjoy. See, I enjoy Ghost Adventures because it is such a hilariously, comically, just ridiculously bad show that it makes it even more enjoyable to watch. See, a lot of the comments on the first Ghost Adventures video I did several months ago talked about how, well, I was just hating on the show, and if I didn't like the show, I didn't have to watch the show. But again, I really enjoy the show. I enjoy this show the same way that, like, the US government enjoys watching its citizens fight in poverty. Okay, so that joke might not have landed that well, but let's just get into the video. Also, remember to like and subscribe, because if this video does really well again, I'll probably do more Ghost Adventures videos, and that would be funny. So for those of you who haven't seen Ghost Adventures before, the main star of the show is Zach Bagans, who is a man who graduated high school awarded most likely to be pulled over listening to death metal music in his mom's Kia Soul. So the show stars him, Aaron, Billy, and Jay as they all go around and investigate paranormal activity in different abandoned buildings and warehouses and hotels and mental institutions. And the show's been going on for like 15 years somehow. And a lot of people have told me, oh, well, the last time you did a video on it, you watched an old episode of the show, and it's gotten better over time. So this time around, we'll be looking at an episode from 2021, because if that isn't recent enough for you, then there's an issue with the show. So the Cecil Hotel episode, which is the episode from 2021, was actually aired as a special that helped launch Discovery's streaming platform, Discovery Plus. And I actually watched it on HBO Max, which makes me think that Discovery Plus probably didn't pan out all that well. Anyway, so the Cecil Hotel was this hotel in downtown Los Angeles that was home to many murders, toaster baths, and just a whole bunch of like mental breakdowns. And somehow, for 40 or 50 years, up until the filming of this special, the hotel was open in some capacity and still in business. So with that all being said, I'll let our fantastic host, our favorite emo boy, Zach Bagans, take it away.
In 2013, something happened in the building behind me that has been called the most mysterious death of the 21st century.
Okay, so first thoughts here. Number one, Zach's mask looks like it's hugging his face really hard, like one of those face huggers from the Alien movies. And I'm concerned about him because I know how much he likes seeing himself in the camera because of the amount of shots of him like facing the camera directly at himself. So I wonder if he's okay wearing the mask this tightly.
There are things in this world that we will never fully understand. We want answers. This is our evidence. Our Ghost Adventures.
Also, the intro to the show did not get better over time. So the main story they go with is this girl who disappeared 10 years ago and ended up drowning in this tank on top of the hotel, and that's the paranormal that they're choosing to investigate first. So with all that said, this is where they really take it into the next gear in terms of the storytelling of this episode of this beautiful adventure, because from here it just like completely goes off the rails.
Lisa Lamb's death is ruled as an accident.
So much mystery surrounding it, you can't help but introduce the theory of what has made this hotel have one of the darkest reputations, and that's the hauntings.
Hey Zach, I have an idea actually. Maybe she was like hearing voices and things and seeing things and going in and out of the elevator because she was having mental breakdowns and not because there was a ghost in the hotel.
This entire building will be closed to the public during our investigation.
Okay, again, I feel like I need to mention here that somehow, for some reason, with all of these murders and toaster baths and all these other things that occurred, this hotel was still open until before they filmed this special. Like 40 plus years of tragedy plagued this hotel, and they were still open in some capacity. So then Zach tries to match up exactly where he is with where the woman was in this paranormal experience video that is like found footage of the elevator footage. He's trying to match like the room, the floor, with the elevator. And he keeps going, and they get to the 8th floor, and it just makes me think about how they probably went to every floor, floor by floor, until the 8th floor. And I can totally picture Zach going floor by floor for the first 7 floors, getting more and more frustrated. Like, God, why can't we just find the right floor? Maybe it'll work if I tell the ghost a knock-knock joke. So then Zach interviews a former LAPD photographer who had stayed in the same room that this woman stayed in, And the guy gets really uncomfortable, obviously, and leaves the room.
I can't stay in there anymore, Zach.
Why is bro posted up like that? I mean, he looks like he's ready to fight a ghost, dude. I thought he was here to like make friends with the ghosts, but he's just gonna go like full Ghostbuster and create like this underground ghost fight club where he can fight ghosts. But the first rule of Ghost Fight Club is no possessions. So then they go up to the roof of the hotel where the woman like drowned herself in the water tank, and they talk about how there's an emergency exit door to get to the roof that has an alarm sound. And I question, one, how the alarm didn't sound and how no one heard it, and two, how they have surveillance footage of the elevator, but they don't have surveillance footage of her at an emergency exit roof access from a hotel where people like to play Skydive Simulator with no parachute.
Did her bipolar disorder contribute to her situation?
Did her history of mental illness have something to do with her accident? Maybe it was a mental episode and not a ghost telling her to take her clothes off, climb into a water tank, and drown herself. Astute observation, Zach. Astute indeed. So then he goes and talks to this author guy again, and he asks him about Richard Ramirez, the infamous serial killer who also stayed at this hotel in the 80s. And I once again feel the need to ask the question, how, with all of this history, including now Richard Ramirez, did this hotel stay open for this long without feeling that they were cursed? How did they stay open for business? How did that happen? So the investigation continues, and they bring in some psychics, you know, like borderline experts on this subject, in to help with their investigation. And while they're all doing that, Zach goes into the elevator and plays an elevator game where if you press the right buttons in the right order, you're allegedly supposed to open a portal to the spirit world. It's an urban legend. And they're doing this on a television program that's been going on for 15 years. Also, he's not only recording with his like normal camera where it faces himself so he can stare at himself because he's an egomaniac and he loves himself, but he also has a GoPro for that sweet, sweet money shot, baby. So after some more ghost hunting to no avail, the gang ends up meeting up in Richard Ramirez's hotel room, and scratches and little bumps start appearing on Zach, and so they end up leaving the room, and they all go downstairs to the lobby and talk about why exactly he could be getting scratched up and poked up.
Everything clicked. I brought his artwork here.
No.
Yeah.
You did bring it.
He brought Richard Ramirez's drawings from prison back to the hotel and into the hotel room where he was staying. Listen, I'm not a huge believer in these like spirit things and all of these hauntings and whatnot, but this is probably the worst thing you could do. I feel like if you want to protect yourself from a ghost of a maniacal serial killer, maybe you don't bring art and paintings and things that would remind the ghost of the maniacal serial killer about being a maniacal serial killer. And maybe, I don't know, anger the serial killer ghost.
If there's any other spirits here that are here with evil intentions, you will back off. Do you understand that? You will back off.
You will back off. Yeah, you tell him, Zach. You got that hand up there. You're ready to smack them down if they mess with you. You got it, dude. You got this. This won't work against ghosts.
Who are we talking to?
This one,
What? Did I just say Lisa?
Oh, did it?
Hear that?
I did.
Maybe I'm deaf, but like I don't hear these voices at all. Like I don't hear the noise, like the name that they're saying. Like it doesn't sound like the name of the person. Like it doesn't. So then after some more ghost hunting, the gang goes up and meets back in Richard Ramirez's hotel room on the 14th floor to communicate with Richard Ramirez.
Get away from the window.
What are you doing by the window? I just had to look out. I had to look out of it. I just had to look away from the building.
Once again, and I mentioned it in the last Ghost Adventures video, but justice for my boy Aaron. I mean, come on. He gets the short end of the stick every time. Every single time they go into a ghost area, he's always the one that gets, like, taken advantage of or whatever. I mean, he could have jumped out of the window of this hotel room. And just as I thought that Aaron was okay, the gang ends up going and opening the door to Richard Ramirez's room, and when they turn around, Aaron is gone. And when they find him again, Zach gets mad at him for following the voices he heard, which is, you know, part of his job as a paranormal investigator. The gang then proceeds to grab Richard Ramirez's drawings, bring them back into the room with them in an attempt to talk to Richard Ramirez. Mind you, they inevitably leave the room because Aaron gets a little grumpy and confrontational.
As he enters the elevator on the 4th floor, watch the other elevator open unexplainably.
Wow, the elevator opens on the same floor that you got on the elevator from. Maybe, and work with me here, you press the button and both elevators came to the floor that you came onto at the same time, and one was just a little bit later than the other one, and it opened later, right?
I'm gonna try to do Elisa Lam when she was in here. She was hitting all the buttons. So before I get out of the elevator, I'm gonna hit all the buttons, go to every floor real quick, all the way down, see if anything happens while I'm going, if anything comes on, if I feel anything move on or off. Seven. Why did this take me to 7? The first button I pressed was 15, and it just took me to 7. That is weird. That is really weird. That's the same place that it took Zach.
Okay, so I'd just like to point out here that he's pressing all of the buttons in reverse order from greatest to least, but he's starting on the 4th floor. So he presses all of the buttons down to the 7th floor, which would make it so that the floors go from 4 to 7, and then in order up to whatever the number was. These guys are professionals. Why are you, what? So after all of that investigating, they end up going back for a second night to this haunted hotel. And here's a recap of basically what happens in this second night. They do a whole spot on this mother who was staying at the hotel who threw her baby out of the window. And I feel like they moved off of that way too quickly, because that's not something you just like touch on and move on. They bring another psychic medium in an attempt to like talk to the other spirits, and she claims there's a demon running the show with all the other spirits, and then she tries to jump out of the window. They split up and one of the guys goes into the basement of a hotel on a fault line in Los Angeles, and they send Aaron alone up to the 14th floor, which was Richard Ramirez's floor, after all the things that he experienced on night 1 with Richard Ramirez. Justice for my boy Aaron. Zach tries to talk to another ghost of another serial killer that stayed at this hotel, and again, I feel like this is too many serial killers that have stayed at this hotel, like all time, for this hotel to have still been open to that day. So then as he's using this machine that is specifically designed for him, the water fountain turns on the room and he freaks out, and then later he asks the ghost who the ghost was touching earlier, and the greatest clip in the history of the show occurs.
Hey, Jack, who were you touching earlier? What was her name? Your mom?
Is this spirit being a smartass by saying that it was touching my mom?
And then the episode just kind of like ends. Like no traditional Ghost Adventures, like looking back on the footage or anything, or them going over anything. It just kind of like ends. So in the end, I really do enjoy Ghost Adventures. It's a really ridiculous, fun paranormal show with eccentric hosts who really know how to keep their audience around and also abandon Aaron at every possible turn. If you enjoyed this video and want to see me go over more Ghost Adventures episodes, leave a like and subscribe and comment what episode you want me to look at down below. Thanks for stopping by this week. This is Keith's Knowledge Corner, and we'll see you next week.